Hey guys, it's Vera Wild, and I am back again with more tips for beginning cross-dressers. You may be wondering why I am seated, and that is because I'm going to talk about how to sit like a lady. Because in our daily lives as men, we tend to just find whatever seated position is most comfortable for us, which for a pretty high number of us means that in our daily lives as men, we sit kind of like this. Slump back, legs parted. It's not ladylike and it doesn't work at all. So the first thing is straight back. Now this is one of those cases where if you're wearing a corset, it's really going to help because that's going to force you to straighten your back out. Anyways, but you don't want to be slumped. You really want to be as straight as you can, even having your back curved inward slightly. What you want to avoid is the sort of C shape with the back curved out and away from you. That's absolutely what you want to avoid, because that causes your shoulders to slump forward, your belly's going to pooch slightly, your breasts are going to just be pointed downwards. It doesn't work. So back, and when you sit, even just roll your shoulders back as well, so everything's straight up and pointed forward. That's the first thing. Now there's the other thing as well, which is your legs. Now right now I am wearing a skirt to illustrate the point better, but what I'm going to say to you is going to apply even if you're wearing slacks or jeans, because even if you don't have exposed legs that you have with a skirt, there's still certain poses that just aren't ladylike. So for your options as far as sitting when it comes to your legs, what you don't want to do is the two things that most guys tend to do when sitting. The first is this, obviously not very ladylike at all. The other is this. Now, crossing your legs is incredibly ladylike. Crossing your legs in this fashion is not, because when you're crossing your legs as a woman, you want to be keeping everything tight, compact, and concealed. And crossing your legs like this very clearly doesn't do that. So, if you're crossing your legs as a woman, you want to cross them in this fashion. Very tight, very composed. You really want to have one knee pretty much right on top of the other, and hands folded on sitting on the knee is typical, but certainly not required. Now, for some of us, this is not an easy position to get into, especially if it's not one we're used to doing. So this probably is going to take you a little bit of practice to get into easily. And you may find that even then, it's not particularly simple for you to do. So there are other options. And the other thing I do want to say about crossing your legs is, while there is sort of the classic Sharon Stone Basic Instinct thing to make a big exaggeration of doing the cross, for the most part I recommend just a simple up and over, as opposed to all these big exaggerated movements. If you're trying to tease somebody a little bit, maybe have a little fun with it, but in general, out in public, just a simple cross. Now, if you are not comfortable or otherwise want an alternative to crossing your legs, there is another option for you if you want to remain as ladylike as possible. And we're going to change camera angles for this. So if you're not okay with crossing your legs as I showed you, the alternative is to cross your ankles. And that is a very good way to sort of force yourself to keep your knees together, because that is really the big worry. You don't want your knees to start to drift apart, which they're going to tend to do, just because that you're used to just letting them do that sitting as a man. So I'm going to go to the side quickly to illustrate this. I'm crossing my ankles together, and I'm sort of tucking them under the chair a bit. I'll do it to the side to illustrate it better in this case. So by doing this, and again, you can see I can just cross my ankles, tuck them under the chair, and that really kind of, it doesn't absolutely force my knees together, but it definitely makes it much more natural for them to stay together than if I just have my feet planted on the floor. Now, that's not to say that you can't plant your feet on the floor, but you're going to want to save that for later, because just having your feet on the floor, you are going to be tempted to fall into that habit of the knees drifting apart, as they tend to do when you're dressed as a man. So that's sitting in a ladylike fashion. I hope that's helpful for you guys. So until next time.